Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Conversations with Coaches podcast. I've been recording a number of these today, so if I am extra vivacious and bubbly, it's because I've been talking to all these lovely coaches all day. So forgive me, and I apologize for nothing. I am very, very pleased today to be talking to Clovette Meikle. It's spelled in a certain way. Michael's acceptable, but it's Clovette is what you're going to want to remember. Clovette, I'll just put it simply, in her own words, Clovette believes success happens when she finds a better way and shares it with others. What a great summation of coaching. I love that. She does that by challenging the status quo and thinking differently. After getting fired via voicemail from a software sales job, ouch. We'll talk about that a little bit, I'm sure. Clovette made a commitment to help 100,000 software salespeople secure their future by leveraging their existing IP. I love so much about that. Clovette, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so glad I get to talk to you about your coaching journey.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to be here, Kevin. I first need to cancel all my social temporarily because I'm hearing the things. Social media, right? But yes, I'm so happy to be here. I love your movement. I'm just really grateful to share my experience with other people who have been through similar experiences and looking for that light, just like I was.
I love that. Looking for the light. Let's get down to it. Let's start at your start. Let's go back to your superhero origin story, as I sometimes like to smirkingly recall it. How did you get your start as a coach? Or maybe even how did you discover that you wanted to be a coach, or maybe you already were a coach in practice, if not in name? And how did you go from there into the coaching business you have today?
That's a really great question. And it's something that I myself had to ask. Especially like when you're coming into the coaching industry as a new coach and you're trying to find what separates you from another coach, right? Or another brand. And for me, initially, I became a coach at 8. So I'm a third-degree burn survivor. I became a third-degree burn survivor at 8 years old. And at the time, my mom was battling alcoholism and depression, and my father was working 2 full-time jobs. So yeah, it was a lot to deal with at 8, and I found myself having to learn how to coach myself through that particular process because my mom was in her process of healing and my father was working tirelessly to make sure that my hospital bills was taken care of on top of our existing financial responsibilities like our housing, everything that comes with life. Yeah. So that's when I really discovered myself as a coach because I was coaching myself. I was coaching my mom who was finding it hard to deal with seeing her baby girl in a hospital bed. I was in a hospital for 2-3 months. So it was a long journey for us. So that's when I first discovered, like, wait a minute. I have something here. There's a leader within me. There's someone who knows how to command my presence, and not only that, but use the worst of life as fuel to rebrand myself and to make everyone around me whole. So that's when I first got an inkling of it. When I first owned it, it was back in 2007. And it almost feels like the same how we hear now today, where there are murmurings of a financial depression. We're all kind of holding on. Some of us are holding on to our pocketbooks, scared of what's next for us, right? Because we really don't know how the economy is going to recover from 2 to 3 years of COVID on top of everything else that we have ahead of us. I was right there in 2007. I was a salon owner, and we were hearing those murmurings as entrepreneurs. Yeah. And yeah, I know you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I've been in the beauty industry for over 15 years because at that time I launched my business when I was 15. Mm-hmm. And it was purely out of, people thought like, oh my gosh, this is such a big thing that you're doing. But honestly, at 15, I was looking for a way to find my voice. I'm a burn survivor. I was burned on my whole face, my head. I lost my hair. And I really just was looking for an excuse to change hairstyles every week and make some money.
Man, that might be my favorite story about taking lemons and turning it into lemonade that I've ever heard. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And so, the beauty industry wound up being it for me. But 10, 15 years of doing that, one of the things that every beauty stylist will tell you is that you become a therapist. So I had people coming in my chair, sharing their life problems with me, on top of the problems and deficiencies that I had with my own family that I didn't know how to solve. I had no clue how to solve them. Yes, every now and again you can provide some good advice, but when you're not a coach and you don't have systems, it's just an opinion. So, I was like most people with opinions. And so in that time, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to leverage my existing experience. And this is one of the principles I teach all of my clients: leverage what you already have versus always trying to go out and find a shiny thing. So that was one of my commitments, like leverage what I already have. I knew I had a tremendous amount of business and launch experience because I launched my business when there was internet, but you couldn't find what we can find now on the internet. And pivot into an industry where I could start answering some of these questions for myself and for other people. And I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and she was like, you should go into coaching. And I'm like, coaching? You mean athletes?
What do you mean coaching? What kind of coaching are you talking about?
That's all I knew. Like 10, 15 years ago, that's all anyone knew, right? Robert S. Grove, the Michael Jordan's coach, like that's what I understood as a coach. And she's like, no, like a business coach. I'm like, wait, that's a thing? She's like, yes. I said, say no more. 2 weeks later, I was working with Gary Henson from businesscoach.com. He's one of the most veteran coaches we have in our industry. And I was sitting in San Diego in my mentorship. And it came with a considerable financial and time investment, but I didn't waste any time because I knew that the pivot was happening from an economic standpoint. And I wanted to use the investment that I had. I used some of my 401k and just the savings that I had in order to set myself up to launch myself in a career that I knew I would be passionate about. Man, so that's how I got started.
I love that. I gotta tell you, I love the moment, the moment you had something to call it, you answered the call. Like as soon as you knew what do you mean by coach? Oh, that's a thing. 5 seconds later, you're like on a plane. I love that. And it's just such a beautiful symmetry. It's so much about what coaching is all about too. It's bringing someone to that realization where they have the language, they have the words, they have the understanding emotionally and intellectually. They know what to call what the thing is they're struggling with or what the thing is they're striving for. And the moment you have those words, you can answer that call. You can go forward and fast. Yes. And I love that. Your story is so perfect for everything that coaching stands for. No question. I am just delighted by that.
Well, thank you.
Shoot, let's talk about where you've gotten to today. What does your coaching business look like today? Who do you coach primarily? Do you have a specific niche you focus on? How do you coach them? Is it primarily one-to-one? Do you have like small group coaching or even like larger group coaching? So yeah, what's the nuts and bolts of your practice today?
Yeah, another great question. I mean, initially in the beginning, I started solely as a business coach. And what you find out as a business coach is when you're working with people, they very rarely lack the ability to execute a plan. We all know how to execute one. Give me the 1, 2, 3, I can execute it. It's usually some internal breakdown that's preventing us from doing what we know we really want to do, like what our heart is calling us to do. So I started adding alternative wellness. So I'm a certified metaphysician. Now, as you know, I'm getting certified as a yoga trainer. And I'm also certified in hypnotherapy and NLP. And so I come from a within first approach because I really believe from my own experience, as a burn survivor, my eyes were impacted. So I didn't have vision for about 2 to 3 weeks while they were getting soot off my eyes. And when you go through something like that, you really find out for yourself that it's not about the things you see on the outside. It's not about any of the external things or reasons we give to why we're not where we want to be or why we haven't resolved a particular aspect of our personality that's preventing us from being successful. It's all within, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that 2 to 3 weeks of not being able to see anything visually taught me at 8 that it's a within first protocol, right? And I use that same protocol inside of my own business. So for me, I work with software professionals and entrepreneurs that's like me. Now, in the beginning, I chose niches that kind of sounded good, or I felt like, yeah, it's like, oh, you need a niche. Okay, great. But then I'm a Caribbean American, right? And so as a Caribbean woman, if you know anything about Caribbeans, we usually have 50 million jobs and 50 million responsibilities, right? And so I said, wait a minute, let me not just focus on a niche, let me focus on people who are like me. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 15. I've worked in software sales for 3 years. I've managed several jobs and at companies with vanity titles. So some part of my career was solely entrepreneur. Other parts of my career was working in corporate and also managing my business on the side, because I always believe in having an extra set of income coming in. And so that's who I help. I help people who have a job, right? Maybe they're even passionate about their career, but they understand, especially after everything that we've been through, that one income is just not going to get it. It's just not going to do it.
I know that's
right. Yeah. And they're ready to leverage what they already have versus chasing another shiny thing, and have that be the forefront of who they want to be and the value they want to put out in the world.
I love that. Yeah. I'm getting almost nostalgic for some of them. I have a New Jersey Italian family. So very different, very distinct, but also lots of like, you make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. You never have your eggs in one basket. You make sure you take care of family, you make sure you know where you come from and you know where you're going. Yes. It's all that stuff. And that's just that speaks to me. And I imagine that speaks to a lot of people. I love that. Yes. Shoot, I want to like keep you for hours, but you've got stuff to do. I know you do. And we've already been chatting for about 20 minutes. So before we go, tell me, and we'll tell everybody else, two-part question. Where can people learn more about you best? Like maybe a website or something like that. And where do you like to be met by people? Where do you like to meet people? Do you have a preferred social media that you spend a lot of time on, where it's a good place to get to know you better? Like, where can people just get more of you?
So LinkedIn is the best way, as you know.
I love it so much.
yes. LinkedIn is the best way to contact me. I mean, yes, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I respond to all my messages, but I'm on LinkedIn every single day as a person in software and as an entrepreneur. That's just where we are. So it's really easy to find me. My handle is Clovette M. Now I do with a group of friends, entrepreneurs, of course, we created an application called No More 9 to 5 right now. Yeah, with the application, we're not putting down a 9 to 5 or people that work a job, but we do have an intense focus on, like I said, a multiple stream of income. And it is designed for people that at some point may want to walk away from their 9 to 5 and reclaim ownership of their time, their finances, and the things that they feel will make them launch and leap out of bed every day. So those are the two places you can catch me at. The No More 9 to 5 app is on Android as well as iPhone. So anyone in the world can download the app. It's a free application. You don't have to spend a dime in order to come and be with us and see what it's like to be inside of a community of entrepreneurs who are truly focused on building multiple streams of income. Because everybody in our group, that is our focus. Some of us trade full-time, trade Forex or cryptocurrency. Other of us, we do real estate, trucking. I mean, we have like 85 different hustles. So the first thing everyone does when they come in is choose their 2 to 3 hustles and work over a 12-month period on making those hustles actually come alive inside of their life, so that you can choose whatever it is that you want to do, whether part-time or full-time.
Man, I love that. I feel like that addresses one of the major hurdles or one of the major struggles of being an entrepreneur. Is a lot of times you can feel isolated because you're just out there doing it and you're so busy. and you have a lot of people in your life, but because you have your focus on your goals, your hustle, on getting where you want to go, it can feel kind of lonely and isolating. And moving into that specifically, like there is a community for you. There are a lot of us out here, you know it, but you might not know how to find us. Well, here's how you find us. Here's how we find you. Here's how we help each other raise that tide, raise all boats, and get out there and go. And I hope it's coming through in the tone of my voice. I love what you're doing, and I want people to find out more about you and connect with you. So thank you for letting everybody know. I'll put all the links to everything in the show notes to make sure that people find the podcast. They can go straight to you. Clovette Meikle, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for talking with me today and being on the pod. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. You, quite frankly, I hope it comes through in the audio. You are just a delight. Like, I was already in a great mood, and I'm somehow even in a better mood just from talking to you. So thank you for being here, and thank you for making my day.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. And I just really want to thank you again for giving entrepreneurship a voice, because you are right. Like myself, before I hired a team of writers and marketers and web designers, I was working in a silo by myself, and I was used to it. In a lot of ways, I do find comfort in that. But what you find as an entrepreneur is that it doesn't work for long-term growth and scalability, right? And so anytime I have the opportunity to share my path and what I'm doing to help someone else, I'm always a yes for that. So just thank you so much for showing up for the community. I really appreciate you and who you're being out in the world.
Well, thank you. Let's just keep looking for the light, right?
Yeah,
and sharing it when we find it.
Yes,
well,
sir.
To the audience out there, just thank you for listening. Find out more. You're gonna love getting to know Clovette a little bit better, and we'll talk to you again very soon.